Hello and welcome to episode 11 of the British Boxing Blog podcast with myself, Andrew, and again via the wonders of 2018 communication, we've got Stephen on the other end of the phone.
He's here, yes, Stephen and Gated, who's been sent home from work for a bit of a snow afternoon.
Like
the beast from the east.
I was just going to say, like Mr. Avalon on Saturday night, we've fallen victim of the beast, but fortunately for us, it's not Anthony Yard, it's a bit of snow.
It is, like.
Keep working on that link all day.
Both got snow days, so making the most of a rare afternoon off and doing a midweek telephone podcast because we're sad like that.
Yeah, 3 o'clock on a Wednesday afternoon. What else are you going to do?
Wonderful.
Well, I actually tweeted out last night that the podcast wouldn't be happening this week because we were due to appear on, is it Nova Northeast Radio? Radio Nova Northeast?
Aye, Nova Radio. It's like
with
local station here.
The show, the boxing show, Northeast Ringside with Peter Mann. But again, thanks to the snow, it doesn't look like that's going to be happening this week. So we thought we'll get a podcast out and basically discuss the same sort of things we were going to talk about then, I think.
Well, that's it. We will. We'll start on a very sad note, I guess, for boxing, not just Northeast boxing, but for boxing as a whole this weekend with the sad passing of Scott Westgarth, which is I guess stunned everybody in boxing. I don't think there'll be anyone listening to this that isn't familiar with what happened, but he fought on Saturday night in, I think it was Doncaster, on the Steffi Bull promoted show against Dex Spellman. He won the fight, which is supposed to be a great fight actually. He won the fight. Everything was normal, I guess. After the fight, he did a post-fight interview, which, if you haven't watched it, is even more poignant now, really. I say, it's excuse me, it's a lovely interview. Which he just professes his love for boxing, but sadly after that, he's obviously taken ill backstage and just tragically never recovered, I guess. So it's just a timely reminder, I guess, of what a harsh sport it can be at times. And obviously, both of our thoughts are with his family and everyone connected with him, and obviously his opponent as well. Who must be going through an unimaginably tough time as well. So sad news.
Yeah, just to echo your sentiments there. To be honest, obviously thoughts go out to his family, and I know there's a GoFundMe page set up to try and raise some money for them, and obviously try and there's no way you can soften the blow as such, but to try and help. And I know boxing will no doubt attract its fair share of criticism once again when these tragic events do take place. But it's that chance that the boxing seems to almost relish, that they can show just how tight a community they are, and everyone does want to genuinely help each other out. So I know we've retweeted the link in the past, and we'll stick that on our Twitter and on our other social media pages. So if there's anyone listening who does want to help out and contribute, they can do. I think,
of course,
from what you said there as well about the interview, I have sat and watched it, and it's one of those bizarre moments. If you're watching it at the time, you wouldn't think anything of it at all. You've got a sort of area level, local level boxer who's reverted to going on the road. He's picked up a few wins on the road as well, and
he had
basically admitting that he's not anywhere near the sort of elite level of the sport, but he, as just what you said, that he loves it, and he's doing what he loves for a living, which a lot of people out there would have been very envious of someone in that situation.
No, of course, that's
but it just hits home that no matter how much you do love the sport, and obviously we do from a different perspective, that it is such a dangerous profession, and it's a dangerous life to lead, isn't it?
It feels like it's followed quite quickly on the heels of Mike Towell, I guess, up in Dundee, and it brings it home sometimes that, you can be critical of these guys sometimes on social media, and, or you say things like, oh, he's not a puncher, he can't hit hard or whatever, but, it's all of that's irrelevant, I guess. When something like this happens, it puts it in perspective, and you admire the bravery of everyone that steps through the ropes, I guess. And as you say, from local level like Scott was to your elite fighters as well, it shows no mercy at times, and it is a dangerous sport. But so it's just really, really sad, and obviously the fight community's now rallying around, which is lovely to see. There's been some lovely tributes posted this week from like on the local level. I know Steve Waite spoke very well, as he does, on the local news the other night. Glenn McCrory wrote a lovely piece in the Northern Echo as well, which was nice. But it's just such a shame, such a real shame. But as you say, boxing will now probably get its fair share of critics from the outside looking in. But nobody in boxing denies. Nobody's ever said it's easy. Do you know what I mean? You don't play boxing, as the saying goes, and it's just a real shame. Yeah, so sad.
I think on that note, then we'll try and move on, and obviously we will do, and we'll cover the rest of the previous weekend's boxing and look at what's coming up. Obviously, you mentioned Steve Wraith there. He had his show on Sunday afternoon that I attended. You were making your way down.
Up again on Sunday, didn't we?
Yeah, well, you were making your way down to Manchester for the Matchroom Next Gen show. So, which one would you want to start with? I'll put it in your hands.
We'll go for Lewis Ritson.
I thought you might.
I'll probably get a bit carried away here. It was it's funny. It's a funny feeling watching Lewis now. Obviously, we've met him a good few times, and I feel quite close to him after the couple of interviews we did with him, and just there was something special about being down in Manchester on Sunday. I know we are a British boxing blog, and we're trying to be impartial at all times, but sometimes a little bias shines through, and I think it did on Sunday with me. I was sitting in the media seats with a couple of guys from Manchester who were, quite same as us. They were quite pally with Joe Murray and stuff. We had a bit banter leading up to the fight, but we watched all the undercard together and stuff. But then, obviously my loyalties were with Lewis for the main event, and I was quite nervous watching him come out. But he was backed by a good number of travelling fans from Newcastle and stuff, which created a good atmosphere against a local favourite in Joe Murray. But I think for everyone that's seen the fight, then I think that tells its own story. Just 1 minute 54 into the first round, and he's just battered him. It was quite savage in a way. He was just ruthless. Joe Murray's a good fighter, do you know what I mean? He's a good amateur boxer, he was an Olympian, I think, Team GP. I think he had 2 losses from 30 fights or something close to that.
Yeah,
but
it was.
Lewis just went down there and just dismantled him, and
it was one of those, because as you say, you've obviously listened there, Joe Murray, and I think I probably, it sounds daft given the result, but maybe underestimated him a little bit in the build-up. I was just thinking, very confident that Lewis was going to do the job, and then it was, as you say, as they were making the way to the ring, I was just thinking, I'm actually a bit nervous. I was just sitting at home watching it, and I was like, a little bit nervous here. And then you sort of thinking, Joe Murray, he won in Denmark recently. He's on the, as you say, good amateur school and good amateur background. And then within a couple of minutes, it was done, and you were just like, well, it was absolutely a blistering performance, really.
Well, that's it. And the guys I was sitting next to, from British Boxers and Luke Madeira as well, they were saying that basically Joe had to essentially squeeze an 8-week camp into 4 weeks, but not that they were making excuses. They said this before the fight, but they were, John was happy, John Murray was happy with him apparently, and they were raring to go, and he was fired up, as you can see by his ring entrance and stuff. But he had a good following as well, Joe Murray, in his hometown. But Lewis was just once again cemented his reputation as probably the best domestic level lightweight in the country. There's no probably about it really. If people saw his Bobby Barrett performance, then you'll realise he was special. But again, emphasise that on Sunday really. We're not saying we saw him first or whatever, but we followed his career closely, I guess, and it's lovely for him now to have that chance to do it on this stage, on the domestic stage. Like he's no longer a secret, and as I say, a couple of the guys I was sitting next to were quite stunned. I haven't seen him for the first time live, and they were like, bloody hell, he can hit. Do you know what I mean? And there was talking to this woman, I don't know who she was, and she came up to me and she was like, my God, I've never seen a lightweight hit like that before. She says, that's absolutely stunning. And it was brilliant. Just made up for him again, just to keep going, and he's flying at the minute, and he deserves it. That's what I've said this on Twitter. He deserves everything he's getting now. He's done it the hard way. Like, there was no GB funding, no amazing amateur setup for Lewis. He's came up the hard way. He's done the small haul route. He went up to Scotland for a bit with Billy Nelson. That didn't really work out as he'd hoped. Came back, joined forces again with his dad, and he's just gone from strength to strength since then. Really started from the bottom. Northern Area title against Jordan Ellison, Raiden Meadows, Ashton Leisure Centre. Like, he's done all the small hall venues.
Interesting that you mentioned Jordan Ellison there, because obviously, while we're on him, he picked himself up a challenge belt this weekend, and well done to him as well, because he's
love him.
Another one similar to how we talked before. He's had to go on the road and again, like in a way to lose, doing it the hard way through the small hall side of things. But
the road warrior.
Want to go back to just over a year ago actually, when we were speaking to Jordan after he'd caused an upset on the Matchroom card in Hull, and spoke to him about Lewis, because obviously he's fought Lewis twice, and saying like what are his sort of strengths and weaknesses, and without sort of criticising and being disrespectful, he said that he's quite basic in his style, but he does the fundamentals quite well. He does everything, all the basics sort of to a good standard, but as well he's very, very strong, very, very big and powerful for a lightweight. And Jordan, being like a natural super featherweight, if we're being honest, couldn't live with that over the course of his 2 fights. But it's interesting to see that now that Lewis has continued and picked that up, and even at the British level, which is Lewis himself said that the British level at lightweight's almost actually like a European level. Sean Dodd fought like Francesco Patera, who has gone on since, I think, won the European title, and then he's vacated or he lost it. But it just shows the calibre of boxers that are in and around that level. And
it does.
To borrow,
go on.
I was just going to say, to borrow one of the oldest cliches in boxing, that styles make fights. You think, okay, Lewis, his last 2 fights, he's come forward, he's absolutely blown the guys away. You think, is there someone with a sort of style that might be a bit more problematic than Barrett or what Murray showed? But looking at Cardle, looking at Dodd, looking at Tommy Coyle, they all seem like boxers who are more suited standing and trading, and I think that'll just play into Lewis's hands.
Well, that's it. I was surprised at the game plan of Joe Murray, who came out fired up, obviously in front of his hometown crowd, and he went for Lewis in the first round. He caught Lewis a couple of times, but it wasn't. He just, when he was standing there trading, I thought there's one winner here. It's a matter of time here. I thought that's completely the wrong fight against Lewis Ritson. Just stand and trade with him. I thought that was quite naive, I think, from their part, to be honest with you. And Lewis touched on in his post-fight interview that he'd caught him 20 seconds earlier with a body shot, and he knew he'd hurt him then. So
it wasn't even just the body shots, though. I mean, Lewis was snapping his head back with the jab, and even I'm not saying he was boxing on the back foot, because by no means was he. But even when he had a bit of distance and he was throwing the jab, that was thudding in, and you could see that even that was having an impact. So then, obviously, Murray's going to be aware of that, leaves his body open a little bit, and it's the last thing you want to do. Like, it really is the last thing you want to do against Lewis Ritson.
Oh no, it's just and I just think, I tweeted again. I said I think it's probably one of the best things that Eddie Hearn's done in recent years. I think, I get that he sort of has a lot of people coming up to him a lot of times saying, "Oh, you should watch this kid. You should watch this. Sign him." But signing Ritson after the Barrett performance, he beat Barrett on the Saturday and Hearn and signed him by the Monday. I just think, he would have missed out on a right star there. Because
it wouldn't have surprised me if he had options before that Barrett fight as well. Like, if you win this in style, we will definitely sign you type thing. Just to cover his back. But I took a leaf out of your book this week, and I actually sat and watched some IFL interviews with Eddie Hearn, and watched the one with Lewis and the one with Eddie. And just to reiterate what you've said, Eddie said there, he was like, he's had 14 fights. He's especially was like, basically, thank fuck we signed Lewis Ritson.
No, that was the headline of the interview, right? Thank fuck we signed him. And you just think, you're right there, because you could have someone special on your hands. Yeah.
He also said there was some daft Geordie in the crowd that he recognised who'd spoken to him a couple of years back, saying you need to sign Lewis Ritson. I was wondering if that was you.
It wasn't me. I only managed to have a quick word with him after the fight. I said to him, I told you he was special. And he says, you're not wrong. But I think he just looked a bit made up with him. I think, as you say, he's now got someone again that he can now bring to the North East, which I think he said June the 16th.
June 16th, like that, Did you hear Lewis Cracker saying that Josh Kelly's the golden boy, so he'll probably be main event?
I've seen that. I did. It's funny that. He's probably right, to be honest with you, but when it's different. It's big for us here in the North East, because, as you said in a private conversation with you today, that Lewis is actually a Geordie. Do you know what I mean? There's no, he's not from, say, we'll take Bradley Saunders as an example, was from more the Durham sort of area, the Darlington area, but But Lewis, he came out of the blading races mixed in with Toon Black and White Army. You know what I mean?
that version's available on YouTube. I found it not long after the fight.
It's his black and white shorts. He's from proper Newcastle, Forest Hall. Do you know what I mean? You couldn't get any more Geordie. So
and not even Phil Jeffries in the background.
Phil Jeffries, the Sunderland fan. You couldn't get more Sunderland. But no. I was speaking to Phil on Sunday, and it's like I said, it's great for. Obviously, it's great for Phil and Lewis, and Dave as well. Dave Ritson, who's it's his dad, obviously, but who hasn't trained him for his full professional career. As I said, he went up to Billy Nelson for a bit, and whatever happened there happened. But since he's came back with Dave, obviously in his comfort zone back at home, training at Forest Hall Boxing Club, I think that's like 6 wins, 6 stoppages now since he's came back, and just made up for everyone because there is more than one way to get to the top, and I think he's proven that now. And I think it's funny, it's just funny watching people's reaction. Like Anthony Fowler ringside on Sunday was like, bloody hell, like people who won't be familiar with him because they've never been an amateur teammate of his or whatever. So I think Matthew Macklin on commentary was like, well, not on commentary, but he said to Eddie Hearn apparently on Sunday, I fancy Joe Murray to win this, and Hearn came out and said, Ritson looks nervous and stuff to Matthew Macklin and that, and you just think, I don't think he looked nervous at all when I seen him coming out. He just looked like typical Lewis, do you know what I mean? Well,
the commentator said literally as the bell was about to ring, he says there couldn't be more of a contrast between the two fighters. He was like, Joe Murray's riled, he's really up for it, but they were like, don't read too much into that. He's always like that, and they were like, Lewis looks like he's just walking across the bar to get a pint. He's so relaxed.
No, that's it. And obviously his interview was the spot on again. His post-fight interview and his IFL interview was class again. And obviously we were trying to learn see him soon, I guess. What I was thinking, I know Eddie Hearn touched on it. Maybe he might put him on the Dillian White, Lucas Brown undercard in London in the end of March. But I was thinking, well, why don't they put him on the April 21st undercard against Scott Cardle? But maybe
well, that's the fight he's talking. I think it's basically agreed. I don't know. Obviously, the terms and stuff won't be, but he was. A lot of the obviously Cardle was there as well, and they're saying right, we want. I think the June 16th one's going to be the Dodd Coyle winner again, providing that Lewis beats Cardle. But
it was funny because
it's going to be Cardle then the next one, and they've got that mapped out already. It seems.
Well, that's it. Literally, you could be talking here that he could have the Lonsdale belt outright by June. You know what I mean? If he wins his next fight in either March or April, then wins it outright for the third successive defence in June, then that's an absolutely stunning sort of, well, not even 12 months for Lewis Ritson, but I just think they probably will have one eye on further than that, I guess. But there is some cracking fights to be made, and Tommy Coyle is never really in a bad fight, is he? And the same with Mashadod, really. They're good come forward fighters, and obviously I guess both of us would back Lewis to beat them both, but they'd be good fights, I tell you. It just made me laugh when Eddie Hearn says, stay in the gym. It's like, stay in the gym. He's been in the gym since the Barrett fight. You know what I mean? He was meant to fight in December. I don't think he's ever left the gym. He was in the gym when he didn't have a fight lined up, and I just think Lewis isn't really one of those lads that I'll be like, yeah, sod it, I'm going out. I don't think he really drinks anyway.
No, it doesn't seem like it. I mean, again, we are massively biased, but he's just seems very level-headed and down to earth, doesn't he? He's not. I think he said his girlfriend has had more of an issue with it and sort of saying how big a deal things are and stuff, whereas it seems just totally passing by.
Well, that's it. He's a throwback in a way. He doesn't, he's not one for fuss and that, and he doesn't have a nutritionist and all this. He just does it all himself. He's like, I'll just go and have some chicken and some peppers and that. No, you know what I mean? He's proper laid back, and nothing phases him about making the weight, and nothing. It's just, his opponents don't phase him. I think he'd literally back himself to be anyone. He said to us, he's like, I'll fight Luke Campbell, maybe if I get through 4 rounds I'll have a chance, and that's just him, isn't it? Just very sort of down to earth and self-deprecating, and I just think I'm just made up for him because he's now got a chance, having a chance to showcase his skills on a national stage, headlining shows now on Sky, and just and it's opened people's eyes now to thinking, oh bloody hell, this kid's special. But obviously still the bookies, we still had a bit of a decent flutter on Sunday, even money for the stoppage, which I thought was pretty generous, to be honest. So
I wonder what he'll be for his next one. He'll probably be going shorter and shorter.
Help myself with a bit of that, but I don't know how long that'll last now, to be honest with you. But
as you said, the secret's out.
second fight in a row. We made a decent bit of money from Lewis Ritson. But just to sum up on Lewis, it was just a really good night. A good way to end it. Actually, a really good night. Enjoyed myself down there on Sunday. I did. A good venue, the Victoria Warehouse. Obviously, not that I didn't realise, but Man United were at home, weren't they? So me trying to drive towards this venue when Old Trafford's emptied in the opposite direction was a sight to behold. Like, you're literally opposite Old Trafford as well. Oh Christ! So I had to dump the car in the Premier Inn car park and pay money at the reception to keep my car there. But I was a bit of a stress, like. But
got there in the end.
I had a good night.
What was the rest of the card like?
It was good.
It wasn't all televised. I saw I saw Jordan Gill.
That was a good fight. Credit to, I just want to say, actually, when I talk about that fight, credit to Steffi Bull. You know what I mean? Because it was his show that the unfortunate Scott Westgarth incident happened. So for him to dust himself off and get his head back on the game for Jason Cunningham on less than 24 hours later was credit to Steffi for that. To be honest,
yeah, massively.
That was a great fight. Jordan Gill looked really good. He was a really accurate puncher. He floored Cunningham a couple of times, but credit to Cunningham, he was a hard man. And by the 12th, he was a couple of more rounds on that, and it could have got interesting. It really could have. Cunningham was as game as they come, and really gave it his all. And Jordan Gill was a deserved winner, and I'd like to see more of him. It was a good step up fight for him. That, but no, it was a really good fight. Enjoyed that. I did. Who else did we have on? We had Cass Ashfaq making his pro debut with 4 rounds against Brett Fido. It looked good.
Yeah, saw that one as well.
Against a decent opponent, to be honest with you. That was, he'll get better as he gets more experience and all that.
Yeah, I've seen Fido a couple of times again. He's another one of these. He's tough. He's not going to give you sort of an easy stoppage. And
that's it.
Ashfaq looked good, to be fair. He looked quite sharp and
couple of wins for Joe Gallagher's crew. I think a few wins actually. Marcus Morrison was on there. He won. Jose Burton was in a cracking fight against a Croatian fellow, I believe, whose name escapes me now. I don't want to guess. Popovic or something. I've just guessed.
Boxic.
It was a good fight. He came forward, this guy, and really, I think, drew blood from Jose, and it was a good scrap. But I think Jose is ready to kick on now. I think that was just a tune-up fight for him. He needs to be looking to get back to domestic titles, British level.
It's an interesting one with him because obviously he would I imagine love the Frank Buglioni rematch, but his stablemate Callum Johnson, the Commonwealth champ, in line to fight him. So it's going to be one mixed emotions. Isn't it? He's going to be obviously wanting Callum to do well, but then if Callum wins, his Jose's shot of getting the British again totally out the window, isn't it?
I think it was just important for them to keep busy. The Gallagher's sort of Manchester lads, obviously, and a Manchester show. Sam Hyde won on there. Tasha Jonas was in a decent little fight. She won. Scott Fitzgerald won later on. He was the float.
They actually televised that one as well.
Osman Aslam won as well. He was really early, but he's not a Gallagher fighter. But he was good. He's from Bolton. He looked alright. It was the first fight of the night. So it was a good show in a good venue. Really impressed with the venue actually. But I do quite like these JD next gen shows. I think it's important for them to, you are going to get fights on there that are just ticking over, and you're going to get some 40-36s and 80-72s and what have you. Do you know what I mean? But I think if they've got competitive fights, which the penultimate two were Gill and Cunningham, and obviously, not that I'm saying Ritson wasn't competitive, but it's a British title fight headlining the show. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's important because you don't want it just to showcase your fighters in just meaningless sort of fights. I think there has to be a competitive element of the JD Next Gen shows, but I think they're good for Sky.
I don't mind them in terms of as just what you've said, really. But if you had one of them every month or a couple of months or whatever, a month and a half, whatever that sort of ratio is, as long as you're getting one or two top level, what you'd call as looking at next week, for example, we'll cover that in a lot more detail when we preview. But that sort of thing. So as long as it's sort of followed by one of them, you don't really mind it, and obviously we're not the most critical boxing fans. Like, we will probably watch most stuff that goes on.
We'll watch anything.
I saw you whinging that like some local, was it a York Hall card next week's not getting televised on Box Nation?
And there's a York Hall card which is on Friday night on the Frank Warren card, and I think like Harley Ben and a few others people are on it. Which they used to show these cards in the past on Box Nation. I just think, well, you've got a dedicated channel specifically dedicated to boxing. You know what I mean? Like, just put it on the telly on a Friday night. They used to, and that was one of the beauties about the Frank Warren shows, that he would literally start broadcasting from the first fight at like 6:10 or something.
Someone mentioned that
you'd familiarise yourself with fighters you didn't know, but
about like this weekend's Frank Warren one as well. Like, there was some early fights on, and it didn't get televised. They're showing like the sort of like reruns of another fight, or some Zelfa Barrett documentary or something. And you think, well, why not just show, like, you've got, as I say, Box Nation, it's there. It's surely its main purpose is to show boxing.
Well, that's it, of course.
You've got the cameras there, everything's there set up. It surely can't cost like that much more.
That was the main selling point of me for Frank Warren shows, is that you could literally watch everything. And I know Sky are trying to do it now on different platforms, like some of it will be on Facebook Live and whatever. But just a bit of slight frustration, I guess. But maybe not everyone's as boxing geeks as we are.
It's just, that's the thing. It'll be the cost for them doing it. With how many, with 2 more viewers of us 2 sat watching it online.
True. But I just think these next gen shows are important for the fighters as well. I think you've got a stable now like Matchroom, so you need to get them all active and get them all fighting. And there's maybe not enough big cards to go around, to get them all on. But it was a good night. I'm pleased I made the trip down. It was good end to a good weekend, to be honest with you. So, but as just to sum up, just made up for Lewis. Really pleased.
Alright, and then again, I'm going to link seamlessly here, but you were talking there about Lewis bringing sort of not him, but Eddie Hearn bringing his Matchroom show, whatever it is, back up to the Newcastle. And not only will that be brilliant for the likes of Lewis Ritson and Josh Kelly, who are going to be at the top of the bill, but further down the bill, you're going to have dozens of local fighters licking the lips at the opportunity to get on that sort of card. Like, we saw it with Frank Warren when he had his show up, and obviously he's got his own sort of stable of Northeast fighters, but there were a few others on there as well, and that'll be the case. I mean, you're going to be looking at the local promoters like Steve Wraith, and obviously I was at his show on Sunday, and some of his boxers are going to be wanting to get on
Phil
there.
Jeffries as well now. Like
Phil Jeffries obviously working with Lewis Ritson, he's going to be looking for some of his lads to be on the show as well.
Of course. I just think, Matchroom have flirted with the idea of Newcastle before, and it hasn't really hit home. I think AJ fought up here a couple of years back. I think
that was the one, wasn't it, where it was Bradley Saunders was meant to be headlining the Commonwealth title against Dave Ryan, and he pulled out injured, and that, unfortunately for the Northeast really, and Bradley, that was the start of his trouble, and basically it sort of seemed to end there, and then.
Well, I think now
the next gen up in Walker, which was sort of his most recent one, and again, as I say, coming up in June, so looking forward to that one.
Well, that's it. I think you with Josh Kelly as well. You obviously and Lewis. Now you've got 2 genuine bona fide stars. You can build a card round. I think. That's what Matchroom are good at that as well.
That's what the region's been missing. Like we've said it before, you can have like competitive fights on the local scene and stuff, and yes, it's great for the local fans, but in order to really have the region kick on, you need someone who's going to be getting close to a world title, or as you said, that they can build a card round. And as I say, we've got that.
I think you need someone from Newcastle as well. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you're going to put shows,
I think it helps definitely. Yeah.
In the heart of Newcastle Metro Radio Arena, then you need someone that people can get behind. And Lewis, as I said, Black and White Shorts, Blading Races from Forest Hall, got the exposure now of having 2, probably be a 3rd fight on Sky Sports before the Metro Radio Arena show. Then I think that's the type of person to do it behind. And even if you're half that arena, like you do for some gigs and stuff, like you can pull this, lower tier and whatever.
Yeah.
Even if you got 5,000-6,000 there, then it's. I'm not saying Lewis Ritson's going to sell out a 12,000 seat arena. Absolutely no chance. But even to get 5,000-6,000 up here on a Saturday night to watch boxing, then it's brilliant. You know what I mean? It's it's what we need, and again, as you said, it's a great opportunity for local promoters and local fighters as well. So let's see how it goes. But obviously, Lewis has to do the business in the meantime. I guess, and
no pressure.
Do you want to talk about the show you were at on Sunday?
Yeah, so as you mentioned there, they're talking about the opportunities for local fighters. There was about 2 o'clock, 2:15 start for Steve Wraith Promotions Sunday Showdown. I've got the written review of that is online, so anyone who hasn't read that, make sure you do. It's basically going to cover everything I'm just going to talk through now. Unfortunately, it was an all too familiar tale of a local card that was just ravaged with injuries and pullouts for a whole host of reasons. In the end, there was a 3-fight bill. All 3 of the home fighters coming from Steve Wraith's own stable. There were a couple of others. I think Tom Whitfield was sort of meant to be on the card at one point, had to pull out. Matt Jobs had 3 different boxers on the card: Chrissy Atkinson, Connor Somerville, and Tom Walsh. But again, through injury and a few sort of personal circumstances and other situations, not really going to, not really relevant.
There was going to be 2 challenge belt fights in there as well, wasn't
there?
Yeah,
meant that they didn't go through. And Paul Gidney, who sort of headlined in a 6-rounder, he was meant to be fighting Chrissy Woods for the was it the super bantam or the featherweight super bantam, I think, challenge belt.
Challenge belt, aye.
And obviously, at some point before, sort of a couple of weeks ago, Chrissy Woods decided that he's taking a bit of a back step, so a step away from the sport. And spoke to his trainer, but wasn't giving much away and nothing. I didn't probe, to be honest. It wasn't it's not one of those. So then, from that point of view, Pete Jefferson still had Ellis Corey on the bill.
How was Ellis? How did he look?
It was his second pro fight. For those of you that aren't familiar with Ellis, he's 20-year-old. He's come from a Muay Thai kickboxing background, and he didn't look to me as dangerous. He was never as close to the stoppage as he was in his debut, but a lot of the other facets to his game were still there. He was very, very slick, nice, smooth movement. Carries his hands a little bit low at times, but he got away with it for the majority of the fight. He caught one lovely right hand at the end where Ellis himself sort of took a step back and shook his head as if to say he wasn't bothered, but was sort of a little bit too little, too late, to be honest. And obviously won I think it was 40-37 actually. So the ref scored one of the rounds even. I'd given everyone to Ellis. I thought wasn't a lot in some of them, but a comfortable winner. And again, it's one of those things. He's travelled from Darlington up to Gateshead, got himself out. All about keeping active at that stage in his career, especially someone so young and relatively inexperienced in boxing. The more fights he gets at this early stage,
it's important.
The more he's going to benefit, the more he's going to improve, I imagine.
No, of course. I totally agree. I think I was just about to say there, it could have been easy for Steve Wraith to just pull that card completely after the dropouts.
Definitely. I mean, he got on the microphone and sort of said a little bit similar, to be honest, that it could have been done. And I think if he wasn't so determined to get his lads the fight, then he probably would have done. Not saying it from a selfish point of view, but if it was sort of just Matt Job's boxers who he manages and trains on the card, he might not have. But I think Steve, out of a sense of sort of loyalty to his own lads, like Ellis, as we say, Ellis Corey there, at the real embryonic stages of his career, needs those fights. So it was important for him to get out again. Paul Gidney, we've talked about it in various points in the past about how through again family circumstances, he's had a lot of time out of the ring, and it was really important that he come back in. And to be honest, it was the most entertaining fight out of the 3. It was absolutely brilliant. Gidney boxed beautifully in the first round. It was like he'd never been away. He was
really nice.
Yeah, honestly, 1 and 2 shots, bouncing around the ring, in and out of range, really fast, really sharp. And if anything, I think the adrenaline of that first round probably took a little bit out of him. And then over the sort of next 4 rounds, Scott McCormack, who he was fighting, just absolutely grafted his way into it. It was so bizarre to watch, because at times he looked so ungainly. He was really long arms, long legs, throwing hooks from mad angles, to be honest. not giving a shit, to want of a better phrase. And it dragged Gidney into that sort of fight, and Gidney looked best, and in his other 2 fights where I've seen him, he's always looked best when he's boxing and moving and trying to keep it long, but he was having to sort of get inside these big hooks that were just winging the way through the whole time.
I made up for him. I know it's important for him to fight. You know, he's had a lot of personal circumstances and stuff, and it was a shame when once I heard the challenge belt fight had been pulled. I thought, oh, come on, lad, he's going to miss out on another fight. But credit Steve and Mal, his trainer, manager, coach, as Mal likes to be called. You know, they got him to fight within hours and sort of cracked on and didn't let the camp go to waste. And I just think, you know, I was made up for him. You know,
yeah, I mean, like, credit to Mal as well, because during the fight, like you're saying, coach there, he really did coach him through it. And not that like Gidney was ever sort of in real bother, he was never sort of hurt by any of the shots, but I think the pace that the fight was fought at could have got to a lesser boxer, especially after such a long layout. There would have been doubts there would have been probably him questioning himself, how fit, what did he have it in him to get through it. And Mal was nice and calm in the corner. I was right next to the corner, so I got great like access to that, and just kept him going. And I think I had Gidney winning the last round, which on my score I think I would have given it 3 rounds each and called it a draw. On the ref scorecard, Gidney won it by a point. So if I'm calling it a draw, I can't argue with the sort of 1 point either side of that.
No, of course
McCormack deserves credit as well. He gave a really good count for himself and he came to win. Him in his corner were absolutely gutted when the decision was read out. I don't think it wasn't a robbery by any means. It was a close fight that could have gone either way, and generally, rightly or wrongly, is going to go to the home fighter in that sort of situation. It's
refreshing that he came to win, though. You know what I mean?
Oh no, it was absolutely brilliant. Honestly, he was, I think his records, I can't remember the exact amount of fights he's had, but it's very, very close in terms of wins and losses. He's not one who's won a couple and lost 20 or whatever.
Yeah.
He was coming to win, as I said. It was good to see. It really made for a good, entertaining fight. And continuing in the Mal Gates theme, the other fight on the card was the first bout, and that was Sam Menzies, the pocket rocket, making his debut.
I was going to mention Sam. I think it's a fighter we've been familiar with for some time now, since, you know, we visited Mal in the gym a long time ago, and he was there, and, you know, they were wondering when's the best time to turn him over from the amateurs to the pros, and Mal didn't want to rush him, did he? He was saying, you know, he's a great kid to work with. And
if you think back, as you say, mate, that must have been nearly 2 years ago. We were in the gym, probably at least over a year. And
yeah, definitely.
As you say, they had him sort of doing pads and stuff then, and we had a little bit of a chat with him. And again, it was just all about getting that timing right. And I think, again, you've used the word refreshing there. It's refreshing to see. There's often a lot of pressure on fighters to turn pro by trainers, managers, coaches, promoters, whoever.
I know he works away for his job and stuff, and I think Mal, you know, even when he was away, I think working in Bristol, Mal fixed him up with a gym down there and stuff, so he was always taking over and keeping himself in shape. And I think, as you say, it was just a question of when they were going to unleash him for his pro debut, and made up for him again, you know, and made up for Mal as well, to be honest with you, because he runs such a tight stable down there, and he hasn't had the easiest of few years, I guess, really. You know, Anthony Nelson sort of, well, I'll speak about him in a minute actually, but he, you know, he's been inactive, I guess, since the Conlon defeat. Poor Tom Whitfield had a couple of defeats on the bounce. Lee Mould just broke his ankle out jogging, you know what I mean? So he's got such a loyal core stable of really good lads as well, like cracking lads, good fighters, but he just hasn't had them out, do you know what I mean? They've been a largely inactive stable, but so for Mal, and especially for Mal to get Paul out and Sam's pro debut and get 2 wins in an afternoon, I think it's great for him, because he lives the life. Like, I know we say this a lot about people, but he's an absolute boxing freak, Mal Gates. You know what I mean? He's
in the nicest possible way. Yeah, he is. Like, as you say, he lives and breathes the sport, as we were talking about before.
On a completely local level as well, you know, he absolutely loves it and just loves his lads. Really loyal bunch. And,
it was good to see as well. Paul Charters was helping him in the corner as well.
I seen that. Was he doing this? Mint class.
And I had obviously said hello to them. I had a little bit of crack in that, and I think just what you've said as well. Like, I keep feeling like just reiterating what each other are saying at the minute, but it's nice to see Mal and getting the wins under his belt again, and getting that, hopefully the start of what will be some momentum for his stable. Like,
well, I just wanted to touch on that there actually. I've seen a couple of things online on social media earlier. There's a guy who trains underneath Paul Charters at the Wall's End Boxing Academy called Peter Imerson, and he's going to make his pro debut on April, I think it's the 28th, at Temple Park in South Shields. But then I also noticed an update earlier on social media of Steve Wraith with an Anthony Nelson t-shirt on, saying, "Best get this t-shirt back out." And I'm thinking, you know what I mean?
Well, Nelson got interviewed in the ring by Peter Mann on Sunday afternoon.
Right.
He had his Commonwealth and his English belt there in the ring with his son, and basically he was announcing that he's coming back, and Peter had obviously asked him about that, saying one of his sort of, as a South Shield lad, would he prefer fighting Temple Park in Shields again, or on the road or whatever, bigger venues, whatever. And he said, to be honest, he was like, "Well, I'll fight anywhere." Like, typical boxer response. He was like, "As long as there's a ring, I'll take my gloves and gum shield and I'll get in." But I wasn't sort of aware of like specific dates and stuff, but that does seem to be the wheels are in motion for that one.
It seems a realistic date, doesn't it? I know Anthony's been back in the gym for a while now, taking over and getting the weight off and getting the ring stuff and stuff. But I think another couple of months from now, basically 2 months from today, I guess, really, that I think that seems realistic, and I think they must be looking at that date, I guess, and it'd be absolutely great to see him back. Because honestly, when we first started British Boxing Blog and we went out to see Anthony, he was, he's a great lad, and a top lad. And he's still chipper and stuff, but he was a bit down in the dumps. I think after the Conlon loss, just felt like he should have came out with that with a bit more.
Drifted away from the gym a bit and from boxing, really.
I honestly thought that was it. I thought, that's it. He's not going to come back here. So credit to him.
Because he could be that sort of spearhead figure for that particular gym and for Steve Wraith's fighters as well. You've got like a domestic level boxer there, isn't he? He's like former Commonwealth champion. It's all there for him.
Well, that's it, of course.
And the other lads out of Mal's gym are obviously going to have good opportunities to box on the cards as well, so it makes perfect sense from that point of view.
The more local shows we get, the better, and I think it's easier for them to sell tickets there, and South Shields, you get Menzies down there, Whitfield, Peter Imerson, like I said. It'd be great to see Anthony top a show there again, and let's hope that happens. And I'm pleased for him, really pleased.
Yeah,
so anyway, back to Sam Menzies. Was he good? Did he perform well?
He did, yeah. Again, I mean, won every round comfortably. He was very elusive in a bizarre way. Sort of reminded us a bit of Mike Tyson in that he was given a couple of inches away to his opponent in terms of height, and he had to box his way in a lot, and that's pretty much the pattern of the fight. It was Menzies' head movement and coming in and throwing the nice little shots, working his way into range. And any nerves there for the pro debut? Or? Interesting you say that, because it was obviously his first fight, and it was a first for me as well, because Menzies came into the ring, his opponent was ready to go, took his t-shirt off, ready to box, and then there was a problem with his gloves, but obviously no one knew that at the time, so all we saw was Mal and Sam, 10 seconds after they'd stood in the ring, just leave the ring and walk back towards the changing rooms. Everyone's like looking around. There's Peter Mann and Andy Buchanan next to me doing the radio commentary for Radio Nova, and like they're looking sort of shrugging, and then Billy Hardy got in the microphone, obviously the MC, and was like, "Oh, there's a bit of a gloves malfunction, just getting that sorted, won't be a minute." But then again, like, you've got the opposite corner, they're a bit peeved because they're ready to go, and is it just delaying tactics? But then from a debut point of view, it's not what you need, is it really?
No, of course not.
It's not going to have done him any favours. So then got that sorted, come back in the ring and cracked on, and obviously got the show underway. And I think, to be honest, that was the best result of the afternoon in terms of just getting the show underway. The fact that it went ahead, and like the likes of Steve Wraith, obviously he thanked all the sponsors and stuff, and everyone who bought tickets, and it needed that, and it was nice that the boxers got their chance, but obviously everybody else that's contributed deserves a big pat on the back for getting that underway and getting it happening.
Full credit to Steve Wraith for persevering with that. As I said earlier in the podcast, it would have been easy for him to pull it, and but then if he does, a local boxer would die literally without people like him putting on shows and putting their hand in the pocket and sponsors and stuff. Good on him. I think the lads that fought on the show and won on the show would be absolutely delighted with that, and massively grateful it went ahead. And I just think full credit to Steve and Mal and everyone else, who's Pete Shepperson, who pulled together and made it happen. Really, as I say, like local boxing without these fellas would just be on its arse, I guess, really. But even if it is a 3-fight bill, then so what? At least it went ahead, and we got pro boxing in Dunstan on a Sunday afternoon, and it's all good, isn't it?
I enjoyed myself anyway.
Exactly. In a couple of weeks, we've got March the 10th. We've got Phil Jeffries' first pro show of the year. Looking forward to that. Rating Meadows, always a good Saturday night there. I think.
Yeah, it was speaking to Matt Jobs about that. He's got a couple of his lads boxing on that card.
Good.
It was Matt's birthday on Sunday as well. I know I've wished him a happy birthday on social media, but belated one for him as well.
Again, someone that would love to go and see you a lot more often. Do you know what I mean? It's just, could probably try and get up there, couldn't we, one night and do a couple of interviews with his lads?
Oh, most definitely, yeah. Well, say that depends on this weather.
But speaking of Phil Jeffries as well, he's had a couple of busy days depending on the weather. It's horrific here stuff.
There's a bit of delay, is there?
Speaking of Phil Jeffries, obviously he manages Lewis Ritson, so he had a great night on Sunday. Then this Saturday, March 3rd, he's got another one of his fighters, Glenn Foote, fighting for the Commonwealth title against Jason Easton on the Josh Taylor undercard in Glasgow. Yeah,
we're going to flip a coin to see which one of us goes to that one, which one goes to Sheffield.
Well, that's it. We'd love to do both, weather dependent again. But no. Hopefully we can get up there for that, certainly. And then obviously his show the following week on March the 10th. So full of busy.
Busy couple of weeks for Jaffers.
Another one of those guys that the lifeblood of North East boxing, really. And without these people putting on the shows, then what would we have? Nothing. But it looked a good show that on March the 10th. We'll probably preview that again in a couple of more weeks.
You've gone underwater again.
Am I back?
You're back.
Good.
A little trip in a submarine in between.
I think that's headlined by Tommy Ward in a non-British title fight contest. And I think he's going to rematch Jazza Dickens again. That was what I was hearing at ringside the other night. Jazza fights this Friday on a Black Flash show, Pat Barrett show.
Yeah.
So I think they're both taking over before they clash again, which is definitely a fight I'd like to see again. I think you were at the first one when Tommy won the belt. But again,
no, I wasn't. But never mind. Go on.
You weren't, but again,
I was at the one a couple of years ago when Tommy's brother Martin fought Jazza and lost a narrow decision, and then when Tommy won the belt, it was something largely to do with the cut, wasn't it? And it got ended early, and Tommy won on points. So I think from both sides there's a bit of unfinished business. They'll both be wanting to go and prove that they are the best in Britain at the minute.
Well, that's it, and I think it's great for Tommy Ward, and just to take over and give a bit lightly back to Jaffers as well, and he's a Frank Warren fighter now, and he's been fighting on BT and stuff. And
but he's a Rainton lad as well, though, isn't he, West Rainton? So.
But just to go back to his local roots and do a 6 or 8 rounder and take over is brilliant. That'd be a good night.
It'd be nice to get for him to get the adulation of the local crowd as well. I'm sure they'd be delighted to have him on the card.
Definitely 100%, and as well with the lads from East Durham College as well, who we went to interview, the two Hill brothers, and Darren Surtees will be on there as well. But again, as I say, we'll look at that probably next week. But it's nice to see North East boxing at all levels on the up.
Yeah,
hopefully Glenn does the business on Saturday, and Commonwealth title in the region.
What's your prediction for that one?
Honestly, I fancy Glenn Foote, and I'm probably always going to say that.
Yeah, I'm the same. So yeah, local lad, we've spoke to him, we've interviewed him.
If he fights like he did against Josh Leather, then I think he's got a chance.
I think he's got every chance, and we're talking before about styles. I think they're both going to come forward, and my only confident prediction is that it's probably going to be fight of the night.
Oh, definitely. I think it'll be an absolute barnstormer. From what I've seen of Easton in the past, he can get dragged into a war, and I think, that's the only way Glenn can fight. He comes forward and he comes to fight. He's not, you know what I mean? And I just think it should be a great fight, and I think Glenn's check weight was done today and he's bang on, so raring to go, I think. And credit to him, dusting himself down after the Josh Leather fight, and credit to Dave Binns, getting him in shape again, and getting his mindset back on the game again, and wish him all the best. And hope it'd be a really good feel-good story if Glenn could go there and do that, definitely.
And then obviously that one's supporting Josh Taylor.
Change of opponent?
Yeah, I was going to say it was obviously originally meant to be Soto, but hasn't gone through, has it? And I think regardless who he was fighting at, that sort of, it's like, again, it's almost like a ticking over fight, but on a level above for Taylor. I think he'll win within about 6 rounds, I think.
Well, that's it. I think with Soto they could say, he's a former world champion and stuff and that, and they were disguising it as like a world level fight, and to me it's probably just a bit short than that, do you know what I mean? But it's a big venue to fill, the Hydro in Scotland, so credit them for taking that on. And let's see how hopefully Glasgow gets behind Josh Taylor, and it's a shame in a way that it clashes TV wise for people watching with the Kell Brook show on Sky. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think there's going to be a bit of channel hopping.
I guess. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm still here. Yeah.
It's that's a really good card. We've just got an email today saying we've got press accreditation of that, so delighted about that, to be honest with you. So
that killed you, has it?
Yeah?
My little whoop, did that throw you off?
Was that what you did there? I was wondering, I thought you'd gone. No, so chuffed about that. It's a really good card actually on Sky on Saturday night. Obviously headlined by Brook-Rabchenko, but beneath that there's a couple of cracking fights on there actually.
Yeah, before you get into that one, before we stay up north.
Okay.
Because further down that bill, Mark Kerr from MGM Scotland is fighting Ian Trotter.
MTK Scotland.
What did I say, MGM?
Yeah, you did.
I'll probably get sued for that. If anyone from the casino is listening, we'll just bleep that bit out.
I've seen that. It's a good fight. Two fighters that we're familiar with from our travels.
Yeah, so just for us, I think that'll be like another one for obviously. Again, I'm not sure whether that'll be televised or not. Probably not with Channel 5 sort of limited coverage.
It might be on Spike beforehand. Spike show the undercard. And then
I hope it is, because again, I think it's a fairly even match, and a lot of boxing fans talk about wanting to see these closely matched contests where it could go either way, and that's definitely one of them. So like, best luck to both lads on that one.
Oh no, definitely it is good. I think it should hopefully be on Spike. I think Channel 5 will probably show the main two, the Taylor and Eastern fights. But again, let's hope that's televised, and great to see two Scottish fellas putting it all on the line, definitely.
And right, you can go back down to Sheffield now.
Yeah, Sheffield. I think huge chance for Dave Allen this time. I think to win this Commonwealth belt against Lenroy Thomas. Dave seems in fantastic shape and such a popular fella, and again, it'd be a real feel-good factor if Dave can do this on Saturday against Lenroy. Hopefully it'll be an improved Dave from the Brownell Lane fight when they first fought. As I say, there's a lot of feel-good vibes towards Dave, I think, in British boxing.
I think, definitely there's a lot of like positivity towards him, and people wanting him to do well. Just because of who he is really, and he's just your everyday bloke almost, and he's honest, he's quite witty, he's quite funny, and he just seems like somewhat like a thoroughly nice bloke that you could get on with, and people genuinely want him to do well because of that.
And I think you touched on, you said that Glenn Foote would be the fight of the night up in Scotland, and I think the fight of the night in Sheffield will be Gamal Yafai, Gavin MacDonald. I think that was when that first got announced, quite a while ago now. I thought, bloody hell, that's a cracking fight. That obviously Gavin's coming off a bit of a world title loss, and Gamal's
again, that's like a year ago when he challenged Ray Vargas in Hull, wasn't it?
Has he fought since then?
I think he had one sort of tune-up fight. Did he fight on a like a local card?
He might have done. I'm honestly not too familiar. I'll have to double check that.
He's had a couple of bouts since, but I don't know if one of them was on the Matchroom card and one of them was on a Friday night. Again, it might have been Steffi Bull or someone sort of in that sort of area in the region.
Maybe. But no, I'm pleased that fight got made. You've got Gamal trying to get to that level. Gavin wants to get back up to that world level, and I think a risky fight for both. I don't think either of those guys probably had to take that. Do you know what I mean? They don't need. I'm pleased they did a 50-50 fight, but it's a risk, I guess, for either of them really, and especially for Gavin really, because if he lost that, then you sort of think, where does he go from here? Back down to domestic level? I don't know, but when he's flirted with sort of higher than that.
Well, that's the thing, because I'm sure Gamal Yafai was sort of linked with the British. Obviously, we're talking about Tommy Ward there, and there was definite rumour. I don't know if anything got offered or whatever, but there's definite rumours that he was going to challenge Tommy for that one. And I think obviously with Tommy being Frank Warren, Gamal Matchroom, it's never really likely to happen.
Possibly not.
But as you say, considering Gavin's not far removed from a world title, and he's obviously been up at European level, it's quite a big step up for Gamal, and they're confident.
They are the fights that Warren and Hearn should be working together.
Most definitely, yeah.
I think Hearn mentioned it the other day. He said he would in an interview. He was sort of doing an interview with Billy Joe Saunders on IFL. It was at one of the Sheffield sort of Cadbury press conferences or something, and he was saying he wouldn't stop one of his fighters, like he did with John Ryder in the past and stuff like that, going on the Warren show, but it just all depends on the money. But
I think there's an element of truth in that, but I think also him putting someone like John Ryder across is totally different from him risking, say, a Ryan Burnett against Zolani Tete. The risk for Hearn losing his, arguably one of his potential stars in Burnett to Tete, it's too big for him. Maybe it's his ego, and when he says the money's got to be right. And I'm not saying this just from Hearn point of view. Warren will be exactly the same. They're going to want a lot more money for the risk that's involved for them as well as the boxer.
No, of course, it's a funny interview. That you should watch it. I watched it the other night when I found myself in a bit of an IFL hole on YouTube, just going through a few interviews and stuff. And it's like a 15-minute chat. They were just both sitting there, like side to side, talking about different things, like Billy Joe's performance against Lemieux and Fury, Joshua, and they were a bit banter from both sides. They got on fine and stuff. But then I watched a follow-up interview where he heard to someone, and he said, "Oh, Billy Joe."
You sound like you're in a bubble.
He said.
There we go. What do you keep doing? Are you going outside?
It's my phone, man. It's dodgy. He said he believes Billy Joe's only got one fight left with Frank Warren, so watch this space, which made me think, maybe there's more into that. Maybe there's more into that. More of.
He seems loyal to Frank though, Billy Joe. I think that would be a bigger shock than some of the previous ones, like Ricky Burns and stuff moving over, and Brad Saunders we mentioned before.
He does seem loyal, and obviously Frank's sort of delivering now with the Lemieux fight, and I know he's got Martin Murray in April, so we'll see. Watch his space. It was an interesting interview. You should watch it. They both come across well.
Alright, if I've got 15 minutes spare, might do.
You definitely have you off work.
another snow day tomorrow, maybe.
So no, it's a good card on Saturday, and the one that we'll be delighted to go down to. It's always means a lot to us to get asked to, accepted for the bigger matchroom shows, shall we say? So maybe hard work pays off, lad.
Keep going as we are.
And I think that's it.
Go on then. So really? Main event, we haven't even discussed or touched on that one.
No, I haven't. I'm looking forward to seeing Kell at 154. I think that's the weight. It's his natural weight now.
Do you honestly? So do you think that it was physically impossible for him to make 147 any longer, and he's gone up just for the weight?
An interview I've seen years back with Eddie Hearn saying that, I think it is, he's a big lad, Kell, isn't he?
I think that seed's been planted a long time, and
maybe
I think had he beaten Spence, he probably would have tried to keep down at 147, because he's lost that. It's been it's not solely because of this. I think part of it is down to the weight, and as you say, he's always been a big welterweight. But him stepping up, I think it's convenient that they can just rebuild and almost not ignore the Spence defeat, because it's still fresh in a lot of boxing fans' minds. But they'll be saying, right, he's at this new weight, blah blah blah, and then I'm 90% sure, probably more, that if Amir Khan says, right, I want this fight at 147, Kell will get himself back down, and then the fight will be made.
You're probably right there.
I think it's an interesting one in that Kell might be fitter, he might be stronger at the weight, but there's also some really big hitters and some top boxers holding the world titles at super welterweight. So I'll be interested after the Rabchenko fight, and obviously depending on how that goes. I expect Brook to win, and to win comfortably, really.
Me too.
How they go about matching him, I think, is it the WBC International or some sort of trophy belt on the line for this one? And if they put him up, and their plan is to get towards the WBC title, that's like Jamal Charlo, and I'd be massively surprised if Eddie and Dom England that want to put Kell anywhere near him, with Kell's potential risky face, for want of a better phrase.
It's a funny one now.
Some of the power that they carry.
I think he's entering the final stage of his career now, Kell. You might be only talking 3 or 4 more fights, and will it necessarily culminate in a world title fight, or will the Amir Khan fight now be sort of defining fight?
I think so. I think he'll have a few decent level sort of tests, similar to the Rabchenko, maybe a step up slightly. A couple of them, and then they'll be looking for the Khan fight. Khan's got a 3-fight deal with Matchroom, is it? They'll be. It's no coincidence. They'll be looking for around about that, cash out with that one, or another sort of big money fight if it comes along.
Agreed. I don't think you'll. Yeah, agreed. I don't think you'll see Kell maybe going to the States like he did when he won the world title against Portland and stuff. I don't think
there's any interest from him particularly, or like Matchroom, Eddie Hearn and what have you, to put him in with the other world champions. I think the younger, bigger, stronger.
for him now, I think he's had that moment in the States where he's won his world title and all that stuff. Maybe it's all about the money now and securing his future. I think he's hinted himself that he probably hasn't got that long left, and he's been in some wars, as you say, in the last 2 fights as well. So how much more of that he can take, I don't know. He's had a lot of fights now, Kell Brook, and I think the Khan one now is hopefully in the easiest place than ever to make, really.
Oh, so it's more likely than it ever has been by far, isn't it? Like, just the fact that even if Khan had sort of agreed to work with Matchroom, but the fact he's signed with them and is a Matchroom fighter now, it's more likely, as I say, than it ever has been, and we've got no doubt that it's a bit later than most people would have wanted, but it'll still happen. It'll still generate interest, still be pay-per-view, and still make both of them a fair wedge of money, I imagine.
I think, just going back to what you said there about Saturday, I'm the same as you. I expect Brook to win. I expect Brook to win well, to be honest with you, and answer the questions that have been put his way, maybe not so much after Golovkin, but after Spence. Show there's still life in Kell Brook, really, and I think Rabchenko will be game. I think he'll come forward, but if Kell, I'd worry if Kell hasn't got more than enough to handle him, to be honest with you.
Well, the big question is, it's, as I say, how his face is physically going to hold up. The talk, obviously, after the Golovkin fight was, how's his eye socket going to last and blah, blah, and then Spence basically did the other one in. But I've heard sort of a few reports and rumours and things that with that sort of injury, it's all like, obviously one part of the face and part of the same structure. So if the left side's been damaged, then there's more chance the right side's going to be damaged and all that, and I've got no idea how true that is. But the fact that he's basically got metal plates now in both sides of his face, it might not take the best boxer in the world, but someone like Rabchenko with a decent bit of dig and decent bit of power just to connect.
Target the face.
Yeah, and will he be in a lot of bother from what he may not have been troubled by in the past?
No, definitely.
Which is why, as I say, I don't think they're in any particular rush to get next to the likes of Charlo or Jared Hurd and a couple of the other lads at that division. But I think with Amir Khan, they'll be happy to risk it for the reward.
Agreed, it's good to see him back. It is. He's still one of the bigger names in British boxing.
Oh, by far, yeah. As I say, I've always liked watching Cal.
Me too.
He's had some cracking win. Like, obviously, the Port win was his best win, and I think it's easy to criticise him a bit because of the level of his opposition. And what I would say to those critics is, well, look at how he's dealt with that lower level of opposition.
Yeah.
You've got plenty of boxers who claim they're on a higher level and then fight to the level of their opponent and fight down, whereas Brook, the likes of Frankie Gavin, Jojo Dan, all those who
Kevin Bizier,
who weren't particularly in his league, he absolutely annihilated and proved that he was a higher level to them. Obviously, as you said, since then, like the Golovkin fight, no shame in losing that, was a bit of a freebie, to be honest. And then the Spence fight, he was competitive in that, and
he was, and I think Spence will prove in time that there's no shame in losing that one either, to be honest.
I think he arguably already has.
Against Peterson, he was excellent. But no, it is good, and a fight that we'll obviously pleased to be at as well. So buzzing about that, delighted.
Alright. Is there anything else we need to cover? I think we've
I don't think there is, actually.
Caught up on, obviously, this weekend, just gone, most of the stuff that's gone on. Feels a bit weird doing a midweek one because we're literally in the middle of two sort of weekends of boxing.
A quick mention of Callum Smith. Congratulations to him making the final of the Super Series.
Yeah, and let's hope that George Groves does recover and the final goes ahead as planned. I think we've discussed this very thoroughly in the past couple of weeks of what we hoped, and hopefully,
that's the fight we want to see.
If it needs to be delayed, it gets delayed for a little bit, and that's the final.
Agreed, and I think that's about it. Obviously, there was a short York call on Saturday, Frank Warren's show, and apparently Zelfa Barrett, Ronnie Clark was one of the fights of the year so far, and
I've only seen little clips of that, and I saw Zelfa Barrett get dropped with a massive uppercut. He did well to get up and fight on, and from what I've heard about it, though, it was like a fair result. Ronnie Clark, being the underdog, did deserve the win.
Yeah,
and again, that's nice. We shouldn't have to sort of praise every time that happens, but it is nice to see that he's not getting absolutely robbed on the scorecards.
No, same. I think I was sitting next to a guy from British Boxers, Aki Kareem, who was down there on Saturday, quite close to the Barrett team. He was there on Sunday, and he said the same thing. He said he had Zelfa just nicking it, but he said he had no real complaints, and he said they were devastated after, absolutely devastated, Team Barrett. But again, I think they'll bounce back. Wish them all the best in that. But Anthony Yard won, Daniel Dubois marches on with another stoppage. So as you were for Frank Warren's lads, really. But
that's the thing, they were in pretty much the same position as they were before those fights. They've done the job, they've won, they've both got stoppages, and they need a test before you can really sort of judge them.
Agreed, and we'll wait and see if that happens, to be honest, with those two, but I'm sure it will at some point. But I think that's it really. Talked last weekend, talked this weekend coming, and obviously next week we'll review Kell Brook, Josh Taylor, and look ahead to March the 10th as well, so all good.
Sounds good, thank you very much.
No worries, pleasure. Good way to kill an afternoon.
I enjoyed it. Let's hope the listeners do as well.
Cheers, lad. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you for listening, everyone.
Thank you. Cheers. Goodbye. Bye.